Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! My college friend Tom was getting married to Liz, and he asked me to be one of his groomsmen. I was happy about it, but I hadn't seen Tom in a while because I live far away. When I got to their city, I was paired with a bridesmaid named Kelly. Kelly is nice, but it seemed like we were matched because we're both black. Liz started suggesting that Kelly and I should be together since we're both single and black. However, there wasn't really any reason for that other than our race. I should mention that Liz had more bridesmaids than Tom had groomsmen. On the first night, the wedding group went out and it seemed like Kelly was interested in me romantically. I wasn't really interested, so I politely declined her advances. She started asking me why, and despite my attempts to keep it vague, she insisted we were a good match for various reasons. I ended up telling her that I am not into short-term relationships, and since we live in different states, there is no future for us. She eventually calmed down but said she respected my decision and thought highly of me. During the rest of the time at the wedding, another bridesmaid named Jen started messaging me privately and we hit it off. The wedding ceremony went well, and during the reception, I danced with both Kelly and Jen. However, when I started dancing more with Jen, Kelly and Liz confronted me, saying it was inappropriate. They claimed Jen was too young for me, despite her being 24, almost 25, while I'm 32. They also said it looked strange because she was still in college, pursuing her master's. I tried explaining that Jen and I were just friends, but Liz got upset, and Kelly accused me of having a white women fetish. Realizing there was no point in arguing, I told him I had to leave early because of my flight the next day. I went to my hotel, Jen left not long after, and then both Jen and I were removed from the wedding group chat. Later, Tom explained that Kelly was very upset and that Liz's night was affected too. Tom said he wasn't mad at me because he knew Kelly and I weren't a good match from the very start, but Liz really wanted us together. I felt bad for ruining Liz's special night, and I hope that Kelly would understand that no means no. And now with some comments on the post. Someone says, "You're definitely not the jerk in the situation. The things I said are beyond messed up. Let's group the black people together. A woman in her mid-20s is too young for a man in his early 30s? You must have a white girl fetish? They seriously need some mental help. I admire you for walking away. I personally would have been pointing out their nonsense." Another commenter adds, "You're definitely not the jerk here. It seems like Liz was involved in picking out your wife as well. You did your part by leaving the church, which was your responsibility. It's strange that the bride was so focused on Kelly, who acts like that at their own wedding. You absolutely had the right to leave. All of them sound really irrational." A third commenter goes with, I think it's fine to use a seating plan or the concept of assigned bridesmaids or groomsmen to try to bring people together in a friendly way. Like if your intention is, I believe they would hit it off, so let's have them spend the start of the evening together and see if they click. Without any more involvement or manipulation, they will have to sit somewhere and might need partners for activities like dancing, so it could be a casual way to introduce them. It's not about pushing them into something, but more about giving them a chance to meet and hoping something sparks naturally. The problem in this situation was a bridesmaid who acted entitled and went overboard, thinking she had a claim on OP. Also, the bride kept meddling even after the initial introduction. Then both of them got caught up in a strange frenzy and even brought up your sexual preferences, which was unnecessary. So here I am in this big and bustling land called America. My daughter lives here with her husband and I've come to visit them. It's quite different from home, but I'm excited to see what this place has to offer. After settling in for a bit, I felt the need to pick up a few things from the store. My daughter has a car and she said I could use it. Such a helpful child she is. But she's always so busy with her work and I didn't want to bother her. She works from home, you see, and I know how important that is to her. With her blessings, I took the car keys and set off. The roads here are quite wide, and the cars move quite fast. I kept my GPS on just to be sure I don't get lost. You need to know that my English is good, like really good. But just like any non-native, I do have an accent, and you can easily hear it. That's important for later. I found a Walmart not too far away and decided that's where I'd go. It's a big store and surely they would have everything I needed. Once inside, I grabbed a cart and started browsing. The bright lights and the endless shelves were a bit overwhelming, but I was too excited. I picked up a few items, making sure to stick to my shopping list, and as I walked through the aisles, I couldn't help but marvel at the variety of things they had. It felt good to be self-reliant even in this new place. So there I was, just trying to move forward in the store. I had my cart filled with the things I needed, and I was ready to keep going. But then right in front of me stood a woman. She was older, maybe in her late 50s, and she seemed to be blocking the aisle. I waited for a moment thinking she might notice a move, but she didn't seem to have a care in the world. So I did what any sane person would do. I politely said, "Excuse me?" What happened next, I couldn't really have anticipated. The woman turned around and looked at me, and then she said something that left me really shocked. She told me, "Oh, come on, don't talk to me. Just go back to China or Mexico or whatever the heck you came from." I couldn't believe my ears. I was taken aback, to say the least. I had simply asked her to let me pass and she responded with such hurtful words. But I didn't want to escalate things, so I tried again. "Excuse me," I said, hoping she would reconsider. But she just wouldn't stop. She kept telling me, "Get the hell out of here and don't talk to me." It was as if she had a deep-seated anger towards me for no reason at all. I kept trying to reason with her, telling her there was no need to be rude, that all I had said was "excuse me." Still, she persisted. She told me, "You're the one acting rude by being in a country that is not yours, and even asking people to move around." I was hurt and confused. I had come to this country to visit my daughter and her new family. I didn't understand why this woman was treating me this way, as if I had done something wrong just by being here. As I stood there trying to process the hurtful words that had just been thrown at me, a young woman that seemed to be in her late 20s entered the aisle, accompanied by her little child who couldn't have been more than 6 years old. They overheard the whole exchange between Karen and me, and the young woman spoke up. She told Karen to stop her hurtful words, and that it wasn't right to treat others so poorly. Karen looked at her with disgust and responded with a racial slur. "A mere N-word is going to teach me how to talk to others? What a joke." The exchange escalated quickly. The young woman insisted that Karen move out of the way and stop being racist. She even whipped out her phone and started recording Karen's actions. But Karen's anger was hitting an all-time high, spitting slurs and calling the young woman a witch and telling her to mind her own business. Then, in a moment that shocked everyone present, Karen shoved her loaded cart toward the young woman. But the cart missed the young woman and hit her 6-year-old child instead. The kid fell to the ground with a cry and a cut appeared on his face from the impact. The mother's anger flared. She rushed to her child's side, checking on him as I hurried over to help as well. The little one was in pain, crying from both the shock and the cut. It was a heartbreaking scene and my heart went out to them. But the young woman was clearly seeing red right now. She left her child in my care and stormed towards Karen. And in a swift motion, she unleashed a powerful right hook that connected with the side of Karen's head, sending her crumbling to the ground with a thud. Employees rushed to the scene drawn by the commotion and they tried to defuse the situation and provide assistance. Meanwhile, the young woman returned to her child, holding him close and comforting him. The police and an ambulance arrived shortly after, responding to the situation. They took statements from everyone involved and reviewed the store's surveillance footage to get a clear picture of what had happened. The young mother chose to press charges against Karen, rightfully seeking justice for what had transpired. Thankfully, the EMTs assessed her child's injuries and said he wasn't seriously hurt. He had some bruises and a minor cut on his face, which they tended to. The little one was soon back in his mother's arms, comforted and safe. As for Karen, she was treated by the medical professionals for any injuries she might have sustained during the altercation. However, those shiny handcuffs were put around her wrists as a result of what she did earlier. I went back to my daughter's house. I told her about what had happened, sharing the surprising story of what happened at the store. She wasn't too surprised by it, which was unexpected. She said sorry to me for having to go through something like that during my first time in this country. We sat down and had a deep conversation about how sad it was that such things still happen, even in a place that's known for being diverse and welcoming. My daughter reassured me that most people are kind and polite, but there can be a few who act mean because they don't understand or because they are hateful or entitled. In the end, I realized that even though my visit began with a surprising situation, I decided to remember the good things I saw, the brave young woman that came to defend me even though she didn't know who I am, the helpful medical workers, and a quick response from the authorities. It showed me that even when things are tough, there are still kind people who want to make things right. Quick note for those saying that my English seems too good for a non-native, while I tend to use certain tools on the internet to help me keep my writings neat and clean, especially when it's a long read. Thank you for reading my story, and I wish you all a great day. I, 39 female, live with my husband, 39 male, and our 3 children, a 19-year-old son, a 13-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old son. The youngest child is the only one my husband and I share. The other 2 are from my previous relationship. My husband is the only one currently working. Our older son moved out over a year ago but returned within 6 months due to some challenges. He's been staying in our living room on a mattress since we didn't have an extra bedroom. Our lease was ending, so we decided to move to a bigger house where everyone could have their own space. We talked to our son about his plans and he chose to stay at home as the current rental situation is tough. He was working full-time and earning about $1,000 per week. We agreed that he would contribute to the household expenses in a new house. However, after a while he lost his job and received a payout, which he mostly spent on Uber Eats. Since then, he hasn't been paying his share of the expenses. He's about 13 weeks behind on rent. Also, he's not actively looking for work, neglects chores around the house, doesn't clean up after himself, and follows an irregular sleep schedule, playing Xbox late into the night. Recently, my husband's company went out of business, leaving us struggling to cover bills and food expenses. We've had difficulty affording enough food for everyone and keeping up with the bills. Despite this, our son continues to eat excessively at night, consuming enough food for 2 or 3 people per meal. When I try to discuss his behavior, he seems indifferent. I've even sacrificed my own meals so the kids can eat. He recently received his tax refund and immediately spent it on Uber Eats while the rest of us are facing financial difficulties. He appears to be unconcerned and assumes we will cover his expenses, even though we're struggling ourselves. Considering the circumstances, would it be wrong for me to consider asking him to leave? To answer a few questions, my 13-year-old and 5-year-old kids both have autism. The 5-year-old didn't talk until last year. They both have therapy every week, which takes up most of my daytime. The 5-year-old will start school next year, so I'm studying at night to get a better job. This way I can help more with our needs. Before the company closed down, we managed our expenses with my husband's salary. But now he had to take a job with fewer hours because of the company's problems. When we moved to our new place, it cost us $8,000 and we used up our savings. We hadn't gotten a chance to save up again. I received some support from my son's father, but it's not enough because he didn't have a job. My husband and I talked with our adult son about our situation. We started by asking him to take care of his own food. He has his own storage for food, but he kept ordering food instead, which caused him to gain weight. So we discussed him contributing to the cost of food, which would be cheaper for him, since he lost his job and we haven't asked him for money for food or rent. We've only asked that he think about the rest of us and be more considerate. I also asked him to help out more around the house instead of paying money, but he refuses to help. We've talked about his mental health problems, and I've tried to help as much as I can. I cleaned his room and washed all his clothes, which took me 3 days because there was so much. I even started waking him up in the mornings since he was having trouble getting up. Edit. We live in Australia where the legal age is 18, so I can do things on his behalf. We tried to help him. First, we worked on getting his driver's license. He was almost there, just needing 5 hours with a teacher to finish, but he lost interest. Even offered our extra car to him since we were going down to 1 car. He moved out to stay with friends, not on his own, but they asked him to leave because he didn't clean, shower, or wash clothes, things I used to remind him about. I get some money from the government for taking care of my younger kids. My youngest will start school full-time next year, so I plan to work them because childcare costs too much. My husband found a similar job quickly after losing his old one, but because of the company's problems, he had to wait for his pay. It took around 5 weeks for his first paycheck from the new job due to issues with the old company closing down. Where we live, renting a place means paying 4 weeks rent as a deposit and 2 weeks rent ahead of time. Then there is a cost of moving and cleaning the old place. We can still afford the house we're in. I never asked my son to support the family, only to look after himself by getting his own food and paying his own way as if he didn't live with us. We talked to him about the Uber Eats problem and asked him not to order until he had a steady income again. And now with some comments on a post. Someone says, "Everyone here seems to be having a hard time. Your son is causing problems, but he might not be the main issue. It's like he's being blamed for everything. Are you trying to find a job instead of writing long posts on Reddit? Maybe you could be doing deliveries in your car for DoorDash or Uber Eats right now. Your family is in a really scary situation. You're not far from possibly losing your home and having an eviction on your record. This is a serious matter, and your son didn't make it happen, nor he is responsible for it. It could be a good idea to see if you qualify for unemployment benefits, help with food, or even IC program for women, infants, and children. I wish your family the best of luck, and I hope the situation gets better quickly." Another commenter adds, "It seems like OP is being blamed for things unfairly. Being poor and having children doesn't make someone a bad person. OP has a 5-year-old at home. It's unlikely she could earn enough to cover childcare costs. Jobs like rideshare or delivery do not pay much after things like gas expenses. Can the 5-year-old just sit in the car all day? Do these people even have a car? It's clear you've always been middle class and taken care of. If you believe she should take any job, shouldn't that same idea apply to her 19-year-old son? It doesn't make sense for him to not help when they are in such a tough situation. I wouldn't kick my kids out, but they should be doing something productive, like going to school, learning a trade, or working. Even a job at McDonald's is better than nothing. If they refuse, then their gaming console should be the first thing to go. If the son wants to act like a kid without responsibilities, then he'll be treated like a kid whose screen time is controlled by their mom." A third commenter goes with, "You are being rude. You can downvote me, but I don't care. You have 3 children, and your current husband lost his job a month ago. Now there is not enough money for food? That's because you and your husband didn't manage your money well. It's not your teenage son's fault. Both you and your second husband need to work harder to provide for your family and be good examples. If your son doesn't have anyone to look up to, how can you expect him to step up now or in the future?" I've seen this situation too many times. People have kids at a young age, maybe around 20 or even when they are teenagers, with their first husband. They don't grow up much on their own. This is clear in the way you write. Their child has a difficult life, and once the child is an adult, they are eager to let them go, possibly because a child is from a previous marriage they have moved on from. Do you know what many other 19-year-olds are doing right now? They are going to college because of the sacrifices their parents made.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.